Goodness, wrong camera. Right camera. Good morning and welcome to JR's Wood Shop. I'm Jeff and this is my shop. And what's today? It's Monday. My gosh, it is Monday. Hang on a second, I have to mute myself here. I hope everybody had a really good weekend. Mine was not too bad. My glasses are dirty. You know, not a lot of shop time, a little bit of shop time, not a lot, but a lot of yard work and stuff, which, you know, is a necessary evil in my opinion. I know some people love it. Me, not so much. I'm not a yard work kind of guy, but I do it, you know, got to make the grass at least look a little cut and even so that the neighbors don't threaten to, you know, pull out the pitchforks and chase me down. So I did cut the grass this weekend. It cooled down a little bit. We had a lot of rain on Friday and Saturday. Actually Friday and Saturday was not so much, but it was hot. Yesterday was dry, so I got to actually cut the grass, which was good. Ooh, glasses are clean. That looks awesome. And what else? That's pretty much it. Not a lot else going on. We've got some stuff to do in the shop. Oh, I did take some time yesterday to photograph some previously completed bases. I don't know why I waited so long to do it, but I did for whatever reason. I just never got around to it. But I did get down into my little photo studio in my basement and set up some bases to photograph. And they were the ones for what's called a 301 machine. And super pretty bases. They are figured maple, much like one of the bases we're working on now, at least the wood species. And they turned out so nice, and I was really happy with the way they turned out. Anyway, I photographed them and I popped them up on my Facebook page to sell. And if you tune into my JR's Woodshop Facebook page, you won't see them there because they live on my sewing machine bases group. I have a different page that I actually sell them on. So I don't want to bore people who don't care about woodworking. I don't want to bore them with the woodworking stuff. They just want to see the bases. So that's what I do is I put them on there. But I thought, actually I have it set up here to, let me see here. I've got a page set up here. I'm gonna have to switch to it. So give me just a second here to, I'm looking at my screen down here. There we go. All right. So I thought I would share these with you and you can see what they turn out like. This is the easiest way for me to actually get the photographs on the web page or on the screen for you to see. So I'll just click on them here and you can see this was one of them. So what I do is I set these up on, I have a tabletop with studio lighting and I have some machines that I put in there as the models to use. And yeah, so they look great, right? I mean, I think so. Oh, I lost my little, okay, not really important. Anyway, you can see them here. So basically what I do is I do one with a number card in there. So you can see the little number 1 on that business card in front. And that just lets people know, especially if I have more than one item, it's nice because they can say, oh, I like that number 1 or I like that number 3 or whatever it was. So they can go through and tell me which one it was that they're interested in. But I try to take pictures of them from all across. Look at that. Ooh, look at that flamey maple there. That is so pretty. All right, my mouse is not working great from across the room. It's okay, but not great. But anyway, so I take photographs of them from different angles so that, you know, if you're buying something, you want to see what it looks like. And so I try to give a lot of detail. You can see in it, this particular this particular base accommodates 2 different machines. So this is what they call a 301 long bed. So the bed of this one is longer, that little front portion of the machine. You could see it in a previous photograph where it was flipped up. There it's flipped up. So there's a short bed version of this machine, which, so there's the long bed with the machine flipped up. Now here's a short bed version. So the short bed version fits in the same base, but it just has a shorter lip on the front here, a shorter bed. But that's where this piece comes in. I make a little extension for it so that you can use either the short bed or the long bed machine in this base. And you get the short bed extension if you buy it, even if you have a long bed. So it looks lovely. But you can see really, really pretty photographs because I try to show it off in the best light possible. So that's the way that goes. But yeah, that turned out really nice. The dovetails, I love using the contrasting woods. So the maple and the walnut just work beautifully together as a contrasting materials, especially when I'm doing dovetails. You can see those dovetails look awesome. Look at those dovetails. Ooh, they're so pretty. And but yeah, so that's what I do when I take photographs of my bases. I don't just pop a photo on a table or something. I try to make it look nice. You can see that these actually are sitting on a quilt. My wife made this quilt. She's not a quilter, but she occasionally dips her toe into the quilting pool and makes some very, very lovely quilts. She's very talented, even though she doesn't do it all the time. She really nice job. So anyway, that was her idea. She's like, well, why don't you just use a quilt as a background, since, you know, a lot of people are sewers and who are buying these things are sewing, and a lot of them are making quilts. And I was like, well, that's really nice. So she gave me this one to use as a background. And so I have a tabletop, and then this kind of just drapes and hangs, and yeah, so that's kind of what that looks like. And I can show you, this is, if you look down here, you can see where these are. So facebook.com/sewing machine bases, if you want to go look at the page where these actually live. That was also her idea. She's like, you should watermark those so if anybody shares them, they'll know where they came from. So here's another one right here, like this is number 3. And I only leave the number in the first of the photographs, and then I pull it out so that, you know, people can figure out that's the one it's on. But anyway, I do the same kind of photographs where you can see. And I've got a problem with this particular machine. This isn't the problem with the base. You notice how the lip sticks up over top? This machine has a little problem with the bed, in that it doesn't lay exactly flat. Because you can see this one actually fits perfectly down on this end of the machine. So it's just where this hinges right here, it doesn't go all the way down the machine. The base is fine. So anyway, because you can see this one fits all the way down in there flat and flush. So I think we're good. But anyway, this flame maple just looks gorgeous. I'm so happy with the way that turned out. I actually dye stained that with some brown dye, and then I sanded it off, and then dyed it again, and sanded it again, and then hit it with some shellac, and then I did some other stuff. So anyway, turned out great, and you can really see the figure from that flamey maple stuff there, and that's what I was after. Not all of them are equally flamed, but that's okay. That's, you know. But anyway, I have 3 of these things up there. So if I pop this closed, you can see there's one there and there's one there. And I just set these up for sale in my page, and then people can check them out and buy them, contact me, whatever. I also have an Etsy page, so if I don't sell them on YouTube, or not YouTube, if I don't sell them on my Facebook page, then I will go and sell them on my Etsy. The big difference is that Etsy takes a portion of it if I sell it through there. I don't know what it is, 5% or 7% or something like that. They take a cut. So if I sell it on my Facebook page, I don't have to give anybody a cut. Aside from, you know, Uncle Sam takes theirs at the end of the year, but that's okay. I don't mind. I don't mind paying taxes. I just don't want to have to pay Etsy's cut. I certainly don't sell them on eBay because eBay takes like 10%. And eBay has so many fees, it's ridiculous. Anymore. I don't know why anybody still uses eBay. They do, but I don't know why, because if you're selling something, I mean, you make almost nothing off of it, unless you can just really get a good price for it. So I go Facebook first, then I go to my Etsy page, and then I go to, well, nothing. It sells on one of those two, and I usually have good results with that. So anyway, back to webcam. All right. And I'm going to go back to, there we go. All right, so I just wanted to give you a look-see at what I do with these things once I actually have them completed. I put them on my Facebook page for sale, or I put them on Etsy for sale. And if you're interested in my Etsy shop, there's actually nothing in there at the moment, but you can see all my past items in there that I've sold. And I believe there's a link to the Etsy page in the description. I think there is. Anyway, if not, send me a message and I'll be happy to clue you in as to where that is. Speaking of sending me a message, I am streaming live on Facebook and YouTube and, where is it? And Twitch. And there's Twitch. So Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. And there is a comment section in each of those. So if you would like to send me a question or a comment or anything along those lines, please feel free to hop into the chat. And I will respond to you as soon as I see your message, which may not be super fast because if I'm cutting things on a router or a saw or something, I'm going to be paying attention to that and not the chat. But I do try to check this periodically, and that's why I have the computer set up here so that I can check it periodically and, you know, respond if necessary. So what's going on today? Well, today in episode 40, wow, 40 episodes, man, that's a lot of episodes. This is the 40th episode, so welcome to episode 40. I still having trouble wrapping my head around the fact that I've done this 40 times. But today what we're doing is we are going to take all of these bases that I've got. This is the shorty base right here, so it has no side compartment. This one down below here has a side compartment. Let me move this out of the way. So here's the difference between these two. This one, turn this around so you can see. This one and this one. There we go. Aside from the wood species being different, this is sapele and this is quarter sawn white oak. Besides those two differences, the big difference is the actual size of the base. Both bases accommodate the same machine. So this would be for what I would refer to as a standard size Singer sewing machine, like a Model 66 or a 15 or a 115 or 201 or whatever. But the big difference is this one has a side compartment with a little lid, so you can stash things in there and do whatever. And it also gives you an additional work surface. You can actually flip the machine around and use this as the front, and then you've got a nice long flat bed to work with. This one just accommodates the machine. There is no storage on this. So this is the most simple of the bases that I make. It does have the logo engraved in the front, which is one of the things that I do. It's one of the options that I can include sometimes. And that is the end of the similarities there. So this one takes a lot less time to make because I don't have to mess with flattening the top and creating a lid and then doing all this stuff in the lid, which is what we did last week and the episode before that. Last Wednesday and Friday in the live stream, we were working on these lids because we were making, like, this one's, you know, they're two pieces of wood and we have to get them equally spaced. We have to get them cut and we have to get them flush down so they fit nicely and make the finger hole and all that good stuff. That's what we did last week. This week, what we're going to do is we are going to take this bit right here. It's a roundover bit. Let me hold it up here so you can see it because it contrasts nicely with my shirt. This is a roundover bit, and I use this to round these edges off. So these edges get a profile on them that kind of matches. So if you see on the bottom here, there's a round where the bottom fits in. And I will round this edge over here to a profile that matches this. Hopefully you can see that. Anyway, we're going to use this in my router table. We're going to round these edges over, and that will kind of give the finished look to all of these. That is not the last thing we have to do before finishing these. It is the second to last thing. There's two more steps involved. One is the roundovers on the corners. Well, actually, okay, technically three, but one of them's super easy. We have to do the roundovers, which is a full process in itself, which we will do today. And then we have to make corners. These are like the corners. So this is an example of one of the corners. This is what the sewing machine will sit on when this is complete. These get cut out and glued in to the corners. And then once they're glued in, we're good to go. We can do the very last thing, which is I just put a 1/8 inch roundover on all the edges. And then sand. I consider that roundover part of the finishing process because you're really just breaking the edge of the sharpness of these edges here and here. So these will have roundovers. I will do that little 1/8 inch roundover as part of the finishing process because I don't do that until I'm sanding. Typically I will sand to 150 and then do the little roundover and then finish with 220. If I do the roundover and then sand, the little 1/8 inch roundover. If I do that and then sand, what happens is the sanding can kind of wear down that roundover a little bit and not make it as nice and uniform and pretty. So, but by the time you get to 220, it's more about smoothing and less about removing wood. So I typically do it between the 150 and 220 grits. That's when I do that. All right. But anyway, today, not about corners. Today, about this. We're going to take this bit. This is actually a 1/2 inch shank. I really like using bits with a 1/2 inch shank when I can. They're heavier. They're more stout. To me, there's less vibration that you get with them. If you're using a 1/4 inch shank, you're more apt to get vibration as it interacts with the wood. So I really prefer at least something where I'm taking and removing a lot of material. I really like something with a 1/2 inch shank on there. It just, I don't know, it just feels more secure and more robust and stout and strong and whatever other adjective you want to use for it. But to do that, we have to put it over here onto the router table. And I'm fortunate I have two collets for my router. In the router table. So I have a 1/4 inch and a 1/2 inch collet that we can put in there. Let me set these aside. And so I'm going to explain actually what I'm going to do with these first before we get over there and put it all together. Let me put this back. Hang on. The way that I do this is obviously I put this in just act like that's the router table right there, right? So I put this in the router table and then I take this wood and I run it across that edge and that gives me my roundover. Now, if I just did it like that, what would happen is I would have a whole bunch of wood on this side just blow right out and be ruined. It's a thing, it happens, and it's horrible. To combat that, I use a piece of scrap wood like this. And I take this scrap wood and let me go over here and grab a clamp so I can show you the process. And then you'll see it more in depth as we do it. But what I do is I take that piece of scrap wood, I clamp it to the board just like that, or to the board, but to the base. And you can see that it's flush with this side right here and with the bottom. But what it's doing is it's providing some meat right here to give support to the rest of the cut right here. So this cut, as it comes through here, will not blow out because it has support from this wood. Now, the end of this might blow out, but I don't care because this is a backer board. Its whole purpose in life is to give support to this roundover process. So just like that, this little piece right here. I didn't turn this on this morning, I don't think. But I was going to say I could put on my other camera here, but let's see. We're 4 on. There we go. So let me get you a little closer. So you can see how that board basically just comes behind this and then adds support to all this wood right here. Because as that bit comes across here and starts rounding things over, as it gets to the end, it's going to want to chip out. Those fibers cannot hold up to that router bit. They'll just spit out. But if I have a board right here that's backing these fibers up, I don't care if this blows out. I just care that this doesn't. And this is all you need is a backer board. So that is how we're going to handle that. All right. Now we've explained the process, we can get on with the process. So what I'm going to do is switch to this camera. That camera it is. And we'll come over here and we're just going to get cranking on these things because there's no reason not to. So I have to set up the table first, so I'm going to bring the router bit over here and we will start setting this up. I need to remove my little cover and I need to get an appropriate cover for this size bit. So let's take this one off, just unlock it, and get that out of there. And then to get my little thing that fits in here, and this raises my bits up. The nice thing about this is when I have the bit all the way to the top, it locks the collet so that I can use my wrench, and so you can see it's locked. So now I can use my wrench and come in here and loosen this. Go. And this is my little rabbit bit that I use to make the groove for the lids and for the bottoms. But what we're going to do is we're going to take this collet all the way off, and we will put in the big beefy collet for the 1/2 inch bit, and then tighten this up. Now, I don't like to bottom out my bits for a couple of reasons, but one, I think that I get a little bit better tight close on them when they're raised up a little bit, but the other is that I get clearance through this cover that's going to go on here a little bit better. So let me just tighten that up. You don't have to crank down super hard on these things. If you do it right, you know, a little good pressure and they will be just fine. All right, so we're going to bring this down. Squeak, squeak, squeak. I'm squeaking a little bit, but that's okay. Now I need to find the appropriate cover, and that's not it. And that is it. So I've got the appropriate size cover to give support to the, so it supports the wood right around here, but doesn't interfere with the bit. Obviously, you don't want to interfere with the bit. So let me get these out of the way. And then what we will do is set up this bit because we need it to be at a point where, let me turn it this way, I think you can see better. So right now, we're hitting the edge of that. It's probably like a 1/16 or so high. So what would happen is we would get a hard edge in our line here. We don't want that. We want a smooth transition all the way across here. So I need to basically get this to slide down. So I'm going to just lower it until the wood just slides past there and starts riding up that blade. So you can see now, hopefully you can see that this actually just rides right up that side. If I come up a little bit, it hits it. So I just come to the point where it just starts to ride up that side right there. And that should be what we need. All right, I've got all of these boards right here. This is just a bunch of scrap right here. Each one of these pieces of scrap will be used to provide a backer for one of the bases. Now, I could use the same one, like if I had a long one, like this one right here is a pretty long board. I could use this and do multiple bases with the same backer board, but what's going to happen is each time I would use this for a board, it's going to round over the corners, and that corner will not be useful anymore. So what I do is for each corner of the base, I do it this side, then I'll flip it this way, then I do one here, and then I do this way. Well, all 4 corners are going to be rounded, so then I would have to take this over to my miter saw and then cut those rounded corners off to be able to use this again. So I could do it that way, or I could just get 8 boards and do it that way. So that's what I've got here is 8 different boards that we can use to create these backer boards. And I'm just cleaning off some fuzz. I did trim some of these on the saw already, which reminds me I need to go get my power cable from over there and bring it over to the router now that we are set up with the bit. So plug that in. I'm going to get my hose here and put that over here. And yeah, so I think we're good. I'm going to put this out of the way. And let's start with, I guess we'll start with this small one right here. This is a good one. And let me make sure, I'm going to clear the space here as good as possible. So let me get all these backup. I'm going to use one board and I'm going to clear the rest of this stuff out of here just so that it doesn't get in the way. Want to become famous? Buy followers. Hey, thanks for that, but I think I'll pass. Twitch. Twitch is its own little animal. Spammers and Twitch, man. I don't know how. I guess they just kind of combs through and looks for people broadcasting and just spams them. I'm not in it for the followers, so I don't really care about that. But I do care about is getting this clamped in so that I have a really nice surface right here to provide support for that. And then I just run this through by hand. I'm just going to make a couple of passes. I don't do it all at once. I find that is not really, I would rather make a couple of different cuts and not chew off. It's a lot of wood coming off there. You'll see in a second. So let's go ahead and make one pass here, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so that was one pass. And you can see that the edge of this board now is rounded because, well, you know, we did a roundover on it. But we got no blowout on the corner here. And let me bring this in a little closer to you so you can see. So no blowout on that corner, just a nice rounded over edge. There you go, that's a nice view. So you can see how that's nice and round. And that's what we're gonna do for all four sides. And yeah, that was perfect. Now, this board that just got rounded over, I can't use that rounded edge on here in the same spot because that board no longer supports part of that wood. What I do is just flip it around, get another square corner, and then I will tighten that down, and then we'll do the same thing. All right, let's do, and basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to run through all these and I'm just going to crank through the other three. I'm not going to stop. So we'll get these done. The one thing I did do was slow this bit down. The larger the bit, the slower the speed. So very small bits, I'll use a very high speed on my router. Larger bits, I slow them down a little bit. I don't know why. I heard that was a good thing to do. So that's what I do. Anyway, let's cut. Alrighty, and that is the end of the roundover. So you can see all four corners now rounded, looking very nice. Now, I mean, they're not super pretty on the sides here. These will get sanded down um, because really what's happening is there's end grain here. You've got straight grain and end grain, and when you're doing that roundover, you're getting a lot of end grain being cut, and so it can get a little rough feeling. But I then go and that's why this happens before I sand, so that as you sand these down, and I will smooth that wood, it becomes much nicer and looks a lot better. But I use that router to get things started. Also, I do know that as I slow that bit down, it kind of keeps it from burning so much. So you notice there's a little bit of like black right here on the corner. The longer the bit is in contact with the wood in one spot, um, and just if it's spinning super fast, you'll get burning. So I just slow it down. It kind of keeps the burning to a minimum. Now this piece right here now has like there's a round over there and a round over here and there's a round over here and here. I can't use this again unless I cut the corners off. So I'll set it aside. I'll grab another piece of wood and we'll just move on to the next base and go from there. I don't know why, I used to do them like this, but here's the thing, that roundover doesn't care if the base is sitting this way or this way. It's cutting it equally on both sides. So I do it this way now. I don't know why I didn't do it this way before, but I do it this way now because it's much more stable having the long part of the base down. And that makes me feel safer when I do this. I'm always a little nervous when I do routing operations like this. And that's a lot of RPMs and a sharp blade. And you catch the wood in the wrong way and it'll kick it. And that's a scary thing. If you've ever had that happen to you, you know what I mean. It's very scary when that wood kicks out of there. So, all right, let's get this one down and you can see very flush, just supporting. We're just gonna go ahead and do all four of these. Let's cruise through them. I'm always, when I'm doing it that way, I always have to be really careful. Like if I'm just leaving this running and switching, I'm always super careful that I move away from that bit. Because if all this does is, if anything just interacts with that, it's going to kick it across the room. So always trying to be careful with that. But anyway, this is the white oak, which looks really nice. You never know how an individual wood species is going to act when you do this to it. Some of them cut really nicely like this. Some of them do not appreciate the process. So I'm going to just stack a couple of these out of the way for a moment. This is cherry. This should be okay. Let's see. Now this one had a little chip out right here, but I didn't really worry too much about it because that chip out will disappear once we perform this process on it. So a lot of these roundovers and stuff take care of like little edge gougings or whatever. They can happen, but if they're in the right place, I don't worry too much about them because I know that between sanding and roundovers and stuff, a lot of that stuff will disappear. All right, let's get this one locked in. All right, put this over here. On we go. So, I mean, here's an example of like a piece of wood that just flipped off of here. And uh, I don't know if you can see it or not, but this edge right here, I'll pull it over here so you can get a little bit better view. So this edge right here, you can see how see that chip up right there? That was what would happen if I did not have a backer board. That piece flew off of here. So that was a piece that was chipped off and this pulled out, and you can see, look at that corner is all torn up there. So that's why I use the backer, so that it happens to this piece of wood and not the one that's actually attached to the base. So yeah. All right, so this is done. We can just keep moving on here. Put this back together. Doesn't that look nice? That looks so nice. All right, this one, let's see how this wood reacts. That's cherry. This is the maple right here. Very blonde, not blonde, white almost. Not even blonde, it's just white. But we'll see. Hopefully we get this wood to behave itself just like the others. We'll use a board here and get this one secured down. Alrighty. All right, that one worked out really well. Yeah, some of the woods, like the maples and stuff, they burn really quickly. So you can see these dark edges right here. That's burning from the bit. I mean, it's not in the same place very long, but um, yeah, it can. You can definitely get some of that burning in there. But I also, like I said, I'm going to sand these when I'm done, so they will. That's so pretty, so pretty. But they'll be fine. Once they're sanded, they'll look lovely. All right, let me get this one down here. Actually move this one here. I'm trying to stack these up so I can get that them a little easier. And then I'm just taking my use boards. Now I could take this over to my saw and just cut these edges off and then use this again, which is probably, I mean, I'm not going to throw this away. I'll probably use that again at some point in time. But I've got another one here. Just keep loading these things up. And hopefully this fits nicely in here. The big thing is I don't care how it fits. Like, I don't care if this is perfect up on this part of the wood up here. I don't care about that. I care that it's down here, right down here. This is the part I care about. I don't care if it's like, oh, look, it's not square and lining up at the top. I don't care. That's all I care about is right there. And I get this clamped tightly so that it won't come out. That's all I care about. I'm gonna take this off. There we go. Okay, moving on. Moving on. Righty, we are making good progress here. So that is the other white oak. Looks nice. All right. And got another cherry up here. Grab this one and pop the lid off there. Get a new backer board and get this one locked in. Ugh, caught on the edge here. There we go. Okay, moving on. Alrighty, so this cherry is done. Just a couple more to go. Doing well. I got a couple of sapilis, these large sapili ones to do. And sapili always makes me nervous because it is a chippy wood. It does, whew, and it's heavy too. I always forget how heavy that stuff is. But it is prone to chip out. So we really want to make sure that we're doing a really good job with getting these secured here. And minimize the risk of ruining our bases. That's what it's all about. Here we go. I think. What? Oh, okay. Here we go. Yeah. Well, that could have been really bad. I don't know if you all just saw what happened, but the base was sitting here, and apparently I left it sitting a little further back than I thought, and whoop, it just fell off. But it's pretty well constructed. Having the rounded edges, I think, helped. There's no sharp corners to hit. I don't see any apparent damage to it. Whew. That would be a costly mistake if I had done that and broke it. But rounded corners, nothing broken. Good golly, Miss Molly. Well, that's why I said these things are so heavy, and it's super heavy wood, and it just the others I had sitting there was no problem, but this one being so heavy, it ended up being back heavy, and that could have been really bad. All right, hey, this is the last one. So we have cruised through. What time is it? 11. It's not even noon yet. So we have cruised through these, and that was pretty good. Ooh, it's getting warm in my garage, though. I will tell you. I think it's supposed to be a warm day today. And hang on a second. I got a little. Had some wood shavings in there that weren't supposed to be. Yeah, it's warm in the garage, and it'll be hot today. I try to get most of my stuff done in the mornings. I mean, I can crack up a a fan and stuff, but it's still just not very comfortable. So let's get this stuff done. I've got a couple other things I want to do as well. And if we can make some progress towards doing some of the other stuff, then yeah, I think we're making good progress. And it's always better to be ahead of the game than behind. Ahead of the whatever. You know what I mean? Let's do this. All right. All right. That is awesome. That is awesome. Get these off my head because whew, sweaty ears. Yeah, that turned out really well. I put the lid back in so I can keep it with its respective base. But now we have rounded corners, and the rounded corners look so nice. I mean, they really do. They add a nice touch to it because you don't normally see. I don't know. Most of the ones I see people make, um, they don't make their corners rounded. They don't do the little fine touch things. I mean, which is fine. You don't have to. But for me, I always find that those are the, like I said, the little extras that just sets apart what you do from other people. I'm going to do, let me see something here. I just want to look something at the wooden sewing machine base. I can't show this to you because this is on my laptop and not on the streaming. But I just wanted to see somebody else's, if I could find anybody else's stuff here. There are some that are nice and some that are not nice. And there's a guy who, yeah, oh my God, this guy's stuff. He used to make these beautiful ones. I really wish I could show these to you. But anyway, a lot of the ones that you find are just very basic. And then there's some nicer ones. So the guy that I used to follow all the time, he made gorgeous ones, and his were always rounded. And he had just finishing touches and stuff because he was a cabinet maker, and just beautiful stuff. He does not make them anymore, but I can certainly go about and find, you know, my inspiration through what he used to do, and that's what I do. So I don't copy his designs, but I am inspired by what he's done, and I use those to my benefit to really kind of help me figure out where I want to take my design elements to. So anyway, this part done here. I have to go back and rearrange all my windows now. I was just looking for something, and it's like, oh, maybe I could show you. I would have to go into the other computer to do that. But anyway, if you just want to look, just go into Google or Bing, whichever search engine you prefer, and just type in wooden sewing machine base and see what pops up. And you'll see, and then you just go to the images portion of the search results, and you'll see a lot of different sewing machines and such. But oh, is that? Oh, that's just sawdust. I was like, oh no, did I mess that up? No, it's just sawdust on the edge. But you'll find a lot of different results. But anyway, you'll I didn't really see any of mine in there, but that's okay because mine show up where they need to, which is in people's searches on Facebook and Etsy. And yeah. All right, now we're kind of at one of those portions where we are going to have some work to do, and I'm not set up for this work. So we're going to have to get that set up. What I need to do is make some corners. This could be tough to come up with corners for all of these. I'm just going to set these scraps back here for the moment. I have this right here. This is a piece of stock that I've already prepared from a previous set of builds. So right here, I previously made these bases. Let me get this out of the way for a moment. Oh my gosh, I didn't realize how much sawdust I had down below. I'm gonna have to clean that up soon. But you know what? I'm gonna have to use the table saw here. I'm gonna hook this up to the table saw because I'm gonna need that anyway. But what I did was I took a piece of stock that was square at the time, and I tilted my blade to a 45-degree angle and then cut a nice piece of long triangular wood. You can see that this is indeed a nice triangular piece of wood. And then what I will do is I will cut the little pieces off here that I need for the feet. I need about 12 inches per base. So this one, there's 1, 2, 3. If I'm super careful with this, I can get 3 bases out of this one. This is cherry, and I can use this in the sapele. I mean, it's not sapele, but that's okay, I don't mind. But it does go nicely with the cherry and the sapele. Wood-wise, wood color, you can see it's a pretty close match. But I am going to need others. I have white oak to use. I have Now, the thing is, I don't care so much about matching species that I can't mix and match. So like I said, I can use the cherry and the sapele. I do have some other pieces of wood here. I've got this, this rather large piece of what is this, ash, which is super hard, right? I can clean up an edge of this and try to get a triangular piece out of this one, which is, how long is this puppy? So I can get at least a couple of bases out of this, which is the ash. I could use the ash on the maple base. I could use the ash on oak bases. So let's see, that's 5. I've got another piece. This is, now this one's actually, this is harder because I don't know that I can do this one. Maybe. As the wood gets smaller like this, see this wood right here? See how small that cube is right there? I mean, I would love to send this down the saw and get a nice triangular cut out of there, but you got to remember there's a half or an 1/8 inch kerf, and it doesn't really leave me a lot of meat to push this through and keep it flat on the table. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to use this or not. Now, what I might be able to do is take this board right here. This is red oak. This is not white oak, it's red oak. And I don't mind. I'll take this and mix this one up with the other ones. Because you don't really see these, they sit under the machine. So the only time you see these is when I take pictures for the post. This is 14.5 inches long. It's also very flat and wide, so I can get a couple strips out of here. So what did I say? I had 3, 5, 6, 7, 8. I can probably get all of them out of this. Now, in order to do that, we got to do a couple of configuration things. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lower this, we'll come over to this camera right here. So I'm going to lower this bit down so that it's not sticking up and getting in the way of things. All right. So down you go, down periscope. That's out of the way. I will also take this cover off. Now I'll put the flat one back on. And that just gives me a flat work surface. Keeps things from falling through. There we go. So we'll put this one back in here and lock it in. And we're good there. All right. Oh, you know what? I just got a message. All right, I'm going to take a quick break. Give me just 1 second. I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Hang tight. I'll be right there. Alrighty, thank you. I had a package arrive on the front porch and I didn't want to leave it out there. So better to pick it up and put it away. All right, I'm gonna move all this stuff over to this table over here so that I have access to the table saw. And then we can cut these things out. I'm gonna have to do some changing to the table saw as well because I need to put in a different cover. I don't have a table saw camera set up. Why don't we take care of that right now? I'm gonna walk over here right in front of you, and I'm just gonna switch this one camera to table saw view here, and we will get you a view here. All right, now you have a room with a view. Okay. All righty. And what are we gonna do here? I'm gonna get a blade. There we go. So this needs to go on the table. I've got a zero clearance blade or zero clearance thing on here. And I need to take that off because if I want to tip this table to 45 degrees, I'm going to need to tilt that blade, and this one being a zero clearance, it's right to the edge of the saw blade. So if I try to do it, it would mess this up. So we take that off and we put on the default, which is this one. This is the one that actually came with the machine when I bought it. And we will pop that in like that. And I have to adjust. Okay, this edge right here is a little low for this one, which means I need to adjust that with a screwdriver. So hang on just a moment while I find one. Hopefully I can find one that's, there we go. And because it's adjusted for the other guard there, but it just needs to be flush with the table here. So there's 4 screws here to really kind of get things aligned with the table. This should be as flush as possible. And so that your wood is not dipping down and you're not getting inaccurate cuts. So that's pretty good. All right, we'll put the blade up. Now the first thing I need to do with some of these pieces of wood, I have to do different things. So with this one right here, actually what I need to do is I'm going to have to take this over to the jointer because I've got a flat side here, right? And a flat side, a paralleled flat side here, but this is a rough edge and this is a rough edge. So I need to flatten this side, put it against here. So we will, tell you what, come over here to the jointer to do that. So let's go to the jointer and flatten one of these edges out here. And then we can come back to the table saw and square everything up. Let me grab my ear protection. All right. So let's get one of these. I just want to get this to the point where it's flat. I don't want it to be, I don't want to lose a lot of wood off of here. There we go. All right, need to go a little deeper. All right, so now we've got a nice smooth edge right along here. And we can use this over here. So let's come back over to the table saw. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut that edge just enough off to just shave that edge off of there. Not a lot, just a little bit. Just want to shave that off. So need this to run through in my, let's see here. That's good. So I just need to make sure that this is going to, okay, that's good. All right. Now I need this blade up higher so that it cuts all the way through the wood. And then we need to set this up. Let's see if I can get that large piece over there. See if that's going to be enough to pass through. It is. We'll set this up on here and drop this down because that supports the gripper. So that helps me keep a nice flat surface as I'm pushing this through. All right. Last thing we need is some power for the saw because we have the dust collection in, and we just need to plug the saw in, and we can make this cut. And this is the first cut on this board. Then we'll do a 45 on here and get ourselves some corners. All right. Don't mind this big giant box behind me. It's a piece of cabinet laminate that I'm going to be doing for a neighbor. You know, just things we do. All right. Turn that on. I forgot that I still had my little stop up raised up on my table there, and as this was passing through, it was going to hit that, and it would have stopped me on the saw, so I had to kind of lower that. All right, now we've got kind of a rectangular, squared up piece of wood here, and the next thing we need to do is we need to make a triangle out of this end right here, and the way we're going to do that is we're going to tip this saw blade to 45 degrees. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this is a digital angle gauge, and I'll put it down on here, turn it on, and then what I'm going to do is zero it out. It says 0.1, but we want it to be 0, so we're going to zero that. Then I'm going to turn it 90 degrees sideways. I'm going to raise my saw blade up because I don't want it interacting with the teeth. I want it on the flat part of the blade, like that. Okay. Now that should be 90 degrees right there. And what I'm going to do is actually, oh, hang on. Now that, do this, loosen that, and start tipping this over. And I'm going to tip this until that gauge reads 45, right? Because that's what we need is a 45. I'll lower this blade down. It doesn't need to be that tall, but once I get the actual depth set, then I can lower it down. Okay, we're getting close. That's a little too far. Right? Nope. 40. Well, maybe. Come on. That's, stop at, not 45.1, 45. Come on. There we go, 45. All right. Set this over here, turn it off. Let me turn it back on. It seemed like it was not quite going to be 45 there. Yeah, I was like way off. I thought so. I'm off a little bit here. Hang on. Because I usually have, it's a little bit harder time when you get to, because 45 is right about the end of my cut. And I was like, that doesn't seem like it was hard enough to turn. Come on. There we go. There's my 45. All right. So I've got 45 degrees now. And what I need to do is get my an angle gauge, or not an angle gauge, but this little tool right here. And I'm going to mark that 45 on here so that, because my blade is cutting this way, I need to see where that blade needs to interact to give me from this corner down. I want that 45 drawn on here. Because that tells me where I need to have this in terms of fence location to get that 45. And it still gives me a bit of flat right here that I can use as a guide for pushing this through. So let's see, this needs to go on this side of the cut, which means this blade, which means it needs to be about right here. Right there. So you can see what I mean about not having a lot of meat to push through the saw blade. That's too far. Let's go back. That should be good right there. So I've got this little edge right here that runs right along the fence that's flat. And the rest of it is all here. Now I'm going to lower this down like this. So you can see I just need that blade coming through there. I don't want tons of teeth sticking up through there, but I do not like cutting this. It's much nicer when you have a wider board to work with. Now I'm going to put this on here, and I think that will still give me clearance here. Check that. So that does clear me through. I'm not going to be impacting the blade, which is awesome. All right, let's do this. And this is where having a gripper, man, makes all the difference in the world. Okay, you can see that I've got my triangular cut here. It's a little flat on the edge here. I mean, it wasn't perfect, but it's good enough for what we need. And now, here's the thing. This is pretty wide. And what I've done with these before is I've put these on my, I've got anyway, I've cut these in half. And I might be able to do that with these. Now, the other thing I have is this board, and I can actually take this and cut. How am I going to run this through? I can run, see ya. I can run this edge. Boy, he's leaving a little early today. I can straighten this back up and just cut this edge off of here. Let's do that, shall we? So let's tip this back to straight. Because here's the thing, these don't need to be the same size triangles for every single base in terms of their width. They can vary from base to base. They just have one job to do, which is hold up stuff. All right, I'm going to raise this up a little bit. And then we're going to bring this back to a 0 or a 90-degree angle, like this. Get that back in shape. And then we can cut the straight section off of here. All right, close. 89.4, 0.5, 0.6, 0.7, 8, 9, 90 degrees. Well, it says I went just a hair far. Come on. There we go, 90 degrees. Okay, so now what I can do is bring this way down. And then feed this through here so that I'm getting just a little bit of extra stock on here. Now the hard part is pushing this through because I don't want to, I need to have a pusher block or something. I don't want to use my gripper. Well, I could use the gripper, I think. Hang on. Let me see something here. It has a very thin side to it right here. Let me see if that's going to be thin enough to go through there. Ooh, that's just going to interact. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to move this over. I can make this a little thinner here. I can take a thinner cut off of there. Is that going to be good? That is just, you know what, just a hair more. There we go. Okay. That should be enough to get that all the way through. It's high enough. Let's lock this down and try this. Oh, hang on a second. So I need this, and I need to make sure that this is correct because I push this against the fence and then I push this down. Okay. This thing is so nice because it just keeps your gripper from tipping over, and that's so important. All right. The other thing is I'm going to just wet this a little bit. Pardon me for spitting on my tools. But that gives it a little bit more grippiness, if you will. So let's go. All right. Well, if you look here, I now have another triangular piece right here to use. So a couple of triangles. It's smaller than this one. So just so you can kind of get a comparison, it is smaller, but like I said, I can cut this one in half. But I have to use a table saw sled to do it because it's a dangerous cut. And you can see I'm left over with this really thin piece of wood right here. Really thin piece of wood. All right, so what do I have here? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I need one more 45 off of here. I'm going to go over here and look at this piece of red oak over here. This quarter sawn red oak. I think I can cut a 45 off of this side right here, and that will give me, because this side is not finished, but all I needed to do is come to this edge. I just need this edge. I don't need this part up here. I just need this edge, and that's good. Let me draw a line on here. We'll take this back over to 45, and we will make one more cut here. And I think that will accommodate all of our triangles, corners, whatever we want to call them. I have to go through the same process. So I'm going to kick this back out. We have to get our gauge right here. And let me zero this out. And then I'm going to raise this up. and start tipping. If you don't have one of these digital angle gauges, they are super nice. You can pick them up for, I don't know, between 20 and 25 bucks, I think, something like that. Um, Possibly at your big box store, definitely at like a Woodcraft or something like that. You can get them online. You can get them Amazon, absolutely. 45.1, come on. Come on, don't be that way. There we go. But anyway, they are super, super helpful. I use it on this table. I use it over at my bandsaw. I use it for a lot of different things, and it's just really, really nice to have. All right, let's lower this down because that's much higher than it needs to be. And now let's find our cut angle here, because remember we want to cut so that the triangle is on the outside of the saw blade, not the inside. So I can get this right here, right about there, move this in, and now we can just fine tune this. Yeah, I mean, these triangles don't have to be like, you know, an inch wide or anything. Um, Usually if they're about 3/4 of an inch or so, or larger, they're fine. That's pretty much all I need. All right, now I will raise this up out of the way so it doesn't impact the blade. As I pass it through here, we should be good. All right, let's make this last cut here. All right. Now, if I needed to, I mean, I've got another flat piece right here that I could flip this over, cut it straight, and I've got another section of triangles. I don't think I need this yet, so I'm going to set this aside for the moment. Because as you see, I now have another triangle here, and this should give me all of the pieces I need for making the corner pieces. Fingers crossed, if we don't have any mess ups or anything else. What time is it here? It's 12:30. So we can kind of go to the process of doing what I'm still, you know what, I'm still debating this one that's really wide. I think I want to take this down. I think I want to get my cross sled out and just, I want to make this 2. I just have this desire to do that. Now, one of the things that happens when I'm cutting these things, actually I'll show you this camera, is you'll notice it didn't get pushed all the way through the saw, so I got a little piece of hanging right there, which is not a big deal because I usually just take a, I take my little hand plane and just get that flat, just like that, and then that little piece is now gone. So what I need to do, if we're going to take that one and make it into doubles, this one right here, if I'm going to take this and put it into doubles, this is for my Twitch. Can I see your chat? I can't see your chat. Sorry, I'm working with the saw. Someone asked if I could see their chat on Twitch, and I can see it when I'm actually over here by my computer. So when I'm cutting on the saw, I don't pay attention to the chat very much. But thanks for stopping in, man. I appreciate it. All right. Let's see here. I'm going to, I wish there was a timeline on some of these things so I know exactly when I missed them. Because I don't know exactly when they come in. And I'm like, okay, that could have been there for 5 minutes or 20 minutes. Although I think I looked prior to 20 minutes. I'm going to turn this back up. I need to get my angle gauge again here. And I'm going to move this out. And I'm going to set this back up to 90 degrees. So we zero it out on my table, which is zeroed right there. And I have to raise this up. Remember, this has to go, you can't see me, can you? You're like, I don't know what you're doing. I can't see you. There you go. So this has to go past my teeth because the teeth actually will interfere with the correct angle. You want it on the flat part of the blade. And then just unlock this and take it back to 90. Once we get it in 90, I'm going to move these bases out of the way, and I'm going to get my table saw sled out. It's not the most beautiful of sleds. I really need to remake a new one, but it does the job for the time being. And we're going to have to do two things. It's not wide enough to accommodate that entire wide triangular piece of wood. So I'm going to cut that down so that it will fit on there. Hang on a second, 89.9. Sometimes I have a tough time just nailing 90 on here. For whatever reason, it'll skip. But there it is, 90 degrees. So that is now perpendicular to my table surface, which is what we want. I can lower this down now. All right, I'm going to move all these bases off of the machine here because I need to put my sled up here. The sled is wider than I have space to allow for at the moment. So I'm going to carefully move these to another location. I'm going to put them on the floor, some of them. Just put them down on the floor. My sled lives down below. Now I can also take this guide off of here, this guard, put this one back on. It doesn't really matter for what we're going to be doing next because the guard is not going to come into play with the sled. Turn that off. Let's move the fence over. I don't know if that's enough or not. It might be, could be. And I need to quickly clean up the dust on this thing. So give me just a second here. Got a lot of dust from that 45-degree angle stuff. So let's clean all this stuff up here. Oh, well, that explains a lot. My hose had fallen off. I was like, why is this thing dustier than normal? Oh, it's because my hose fell off. Isn't that awful? Isn't that awful? All right. Well, in order to get my sled running nicely on here, do this. I'm actually vacuuming some stuff off of the sled. So my sled lives back behind. It's covered in dust because that's where it is. All right, yeah, my hose had come off. I was like, why is this so dusty? It's dustier than normal. Because my hose had come off at the actual vacuum. All right, here's my sled. It's not beautiful. Actually, you know what? Hang on. It is covered in like stuff on the bottom, and I'm just going to clean it off really quickly because otherwise it'll make a mess. All right, so there's that. That's my sled. Now, what I need to do is I need to cut this down. See, right now this won't fit on my sled. It's just too long. You can see it sticks off the end. The distance on this, I think I was planning on getting 2 lengths out of this. It wasn't 36, so I couldn't get 3. I can get 2 out of here. This is 29, which means if I take this to, what is that, 15 and a half inches. So we're going to cut this at 15 and a half inches just because that's a number I picked, not because it's important. It just gives me a lot of wood to work with. I think that's about half. So 15 and a half inches on here. No, not 15 and a half. I'm sorry, 14 and a half inches. 14 and a half inches because it was 29. So I'm going to take this over to my miter saw real quick, and I just want to cut this so that it fits lengthwise on my saw. Because what we're going to do is kind of tricky on here. 14 and a half inches is actually perfect. That's the perfect length. So I need to get my my power cable. This will just take a second to do. Wow, man, I threw a lot of sawdust around with that being turned off. That was not good, or being disconnected. I was wondering why there was so much dust flying up. But I was like, oh, maybe it's because I'm cutting at 45s. No, it's because the hose wasn't attached. You big hoser. All right, let's cut this really quickly. There we go. That's all I need from that. Right there. Now what we're going to do is we are going to cut this in half. That's what we're going to do. I'm going to draw a line on here and intersect right with the halfway point. And that should, whoop, pencil. That will help me to align this thing. So we've got a line going right up through the middle here, and I'm going to put one on this side too, just because I can. And because this is a right angle saddle marker, so it gives me a nice right angle on there. And I just want to see where this is going to align on here. I need to push this out of the way really quick. Okay. Because I want this to go right through the middle of my triangle here, which means I need this one lined up right in the middle of the triangle, which means I need to get my square flat blade here so I can see where this one's going to go. So right there. And then what I'm going to do, normally this is a cut I would never even consider making on my table saw in any configuration except this. And the reason is I'm not going to be touching that piece of wood. Because I'm moving the wood across and it's resting on the platform that's moving, it is a super safe way to do this. There is no other way I can consider cutting this piece of wood in half that would not be a danger to my fingers. But all I'm going to do is take tape and tape this down on both sides like this. I'm taping it flat to the sled, right? So the sled is going to be moving. It's going to take this wood with it. I'll put a couple more pieces down low. But this is going to hold it. I've done this before, and it is one. This is one of those reasons why you have a sled, because you can make cuts you can't do any other way. I mean, honestly, I could not think of another way that I would do this where it would be safe. All right. I can now power this thing through. I need to raise this blade up though, so that it goes through there. Hang on a second. Let me make sure that I've got, let's see, that's 2.5 and that's, okay. I can now put this blade right through the middle of that board. Uh-oh. We're a little high here. Hang on. I need to come down a little bit because it doesn't want to ride through. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass this through here a little bit just to get this. Yeah, hang on a second. Make sure it's off. I got to plug the tables in and I got to put my dust collection back in because all this will be messy if I don't do that. It's already messy. Can't believe I didn't have that plugged in. My hose came unplugged. That was tragic. All right. I need to make the cut in the back of my board a little bit taller to accommodate for the height that we're doing here. So this will just take a second. This isn't a lot. Go all the way through? And now what was once 2 or 1 is now 2. So now we've got 2 basically perfect triangular pieces here that we can use for corners. And now I'm going to do the same thing with this one right here. So I'm going to clean off any of the wood shavings here so I can get this done. I'm going to draw these lines on here just to get it matched up again. Actually, I need a piece of sandpaper to clean off where there we go. Okay, so you can see how that was so easy to do on here, but it's something I would never attempt on any other tool because it's just, there's so much that could go wrong doing it any other way. But on here, that's easy peasy, man. There is nothing dangerous about doing it on this sled. So the time and effort it took for me to make this sled just paid for itself right there. Just in allowing me to make that specific cut. And I need to remake this sled too. I need another sled. This one, not the best. This piece of wood is, I think it's a little bit warpy. Is that a word? Warpy? But not enamored with it. So try to get that right in the middle. Get that right there. Get my tape and do the exact same thing. Just tape this down and let the sled do all the work. Just regular masking tape, nothing special here. I mean, I could double side tape this down to the sled, but that's a little overkill. I think the masking tape does a fine job of holding it in place. And anytime you can use a sled to make your cuts, cross cuts and anything like that on a table saw, it's going to add to the safety of the tool, without a doubt. I don't use it a lot for cross cuts just because it's like, you know, to get it out and set it up and everything else. But anyway, all right, we've got this one now secured to the sled. So this is not going to move. It won't budge. We can just fire this up and we can go right through this piece as well. Let's go. And that, sports fans, is all there is to it. Just pull off the tape, and I've got 2 more sets of triangles to use as corner supports for the bases. So there we go. What could be a very tricky way of doing things, made very simple with table saw sled. So there you go. Make yourself a table saw sled if you've got a table saw. There's only like 100 videos out there on YouTube or more on how to do one. But what do we got now? I've got triangles for days here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is at least 5 bases right there. And then I've got 8. So there's 2 there, at least 1 out of there. I got all the bases I need. So, yep, we're in good shape. What time is it? 12:49. Man, we are just cruising through time today. Very efficient today. I like that. All right. I tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and call it a day because the next step in this is measuring and cutting the individual corners, and we're going to have to do that. You might want to see me, maybe not. I don't know. We're going to do that over on the saw, on the miter saw, and so we'll figure out. I mean, I could do it over here, on the sled as well. Could. I think I've done them on the sled, but it's just the miter saw is super easy, and I enjoy doing it that way. The only thing on the table saw sled, you make a stop, you measure it, you make a stop, and then you just push the wood into the stop, run it through, push the wood into the stop, run it through. So that itself can be pretty simple to use. It's a big sled. I want to make a smaller sled too for doing things like that. So this is a fairly large sled. But I would like to use to make a smaller sled as well. I think this one's, yeah, this is like 1/2 inch ply on the bottom. And then this is MDF on the back, and then another piece of wood on there. So basically 3 pieces of wood, and then I've got runners that are made out of plywood. My runners probably need to be replaced as well, but they don't shift. They don't shift, and it slides pretty nicely. So, you know, I can't complain. It does the job when I need it to. All right. So next time on Let's Make Some Sewing Machine Bases, we will start cutting these down. So we're going to have to, we will get my sewing machine out here, and we will start measuring exactly how deep these things need to be set down into the machine itself. So hang on, let me explain a little bit. So we have to, so I've got a block here. Let me get this out of the way. Hang on. Let's get this out of the way. All right. So I've got a block here. It's going to go in the corner, right? This block is too short. I can tell you right now. I'm going to look over here. So this block, I'm pretty sure it's too short, but this needs to go in the corner. I have a distance from the top of this block to the top of this edge that I need to be aware of, because that is the thickness of, good God, this sewing machine base right here. So you can see it'll fit and sit on those corners. Now, this one's actually too low because this is actually beneath the edge by 1/16 of an inch. Now, so what I need to decide on is, okay, how far below this edge do I want these to sit? And the other problem I have, this is, I think I've discussed in other videos as well, is that those sewing machines, all of them, you can take a pair of calipers and measure each corner and go from machine to machine to machine. You'll have almost 4 different measurements on each corner. Manufacturing tolerances back then, not super precise. So trying to get the perfect match, if I had the machine that was going to fit in here, I could match them perfectly, but I don't. So I try to come up with a ballpark estimate of what will work best for most machines. If it happens to be too low in one corner for some machines, they can put a piece of a felt foot underneath there and it works fine. So, but anyway, I have to figure out how deep this needs to be. Once I get them figured out on the actual size that they need to be, then I will cut them. Then I will glue them in, and that in itself is a project because I have to use special clamps that fit on the corners to be able to glue across this surface. You can't glue straight across because obviously it's a triangle. It'll slide off if you try to put a clamp on there. So you have to glue, or you have to clamp across this way, which means I had to put a clamping caul on this side to go this way with it. The ones with the, I'm pointing over there like there's something over there that you could look at, but there's nothing over there. The ones with the side compartments are even more difficult because the compartment is adding distance to where this gets clamped. So I have special clamping cauls just for those, and you'll get to see those next time as well. Wednesday, we will start this process. And we'll get as many of them done. I may be able to get in here tomorrow and get some of these started, and then we can finish it on Wednesday maybe. But the thing is, when I put these in glue, they stay for a day. I don't take them out for almost 24 hours. Um, it's probably overkill, but I would rather err on the side of overkill than having one of my corners come loose. And I've never had one come loose, so overkill it is. All right, and I think that's where we will end the day today. Please, come back on Wednesday. Join me for a little bit if you can. I'd appreciate it. Also, if you want to hit the follow, like, subscribe, whatever it is on the platform you're on, that would be great. All of my socials, you can see. Oh, God, my stuff's not on there. What the hell? My socials, I have to go reset them. They usually appear at the bottom of my screen, but I did an update to the software and apparently it got rid of them. So my socials are listed in the details. If you want to follow me on some other platform like Instagram or Facebook or YouTube or wherever you're not right now, just look at the details or under my my info section on Twitch, and you'll find all of my socials. Otherwise, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for being here. And I will see you all on Wednesday. Take care.